Good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I'm so glad you are here. Hope to see some of you in the comments today. I'm sure if you are a regular watcher, you're like, where are you, Jen? I am actually at a conference today called the Permission Slip Conference, and I am slipping out of the permission slip to bring you a really lovely human that I'm so excited to introduce you to. Her name is Kiersten Schroeder, and she is a previous client. We have worked together, and I am so excited about her company's journey into understanding how they lead, how they use personality well and appropriately. You know, I get really up in arms when people use things in the wrong way, and it can be really damaging. In fact, one of the people, after I had spoken to her team, one of her team members came up to me and was like, I was really scared about this. And he started to tell me the story of a previous experience with the Enneagram. So the Enneagram is the personality framework I use. And he told me this previous experience that honestly sounded mildly traumatic. And I was like, I am so sorry you experienced that. And he told me the story about how great it was today to see it used differently and appropriately. And he could connect the dots between how this is going to make him more productive at work, get along better with his coworkers, and just in general, enjoy being where he was. And it was such a great boost to me. And I know that wasn't just me coming in for that day. It was a place that Kiersten has built at her agency, that it was open and welcome enough to share these ideas. And so I just knew that I needed to bring her on to talk about what does it look like to build your leadership and understand your personality and build a culture that people want to come to. So I'm just so excited to introduce you to who here is Kiersten.
Hello.
Hello,
Wow.
hello.
Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, it was such a special moment for me. Yeah, it was really lovely. So thank you so much for being here. I always like to start with a little bit of people's stories. So can you just share a little bit about who you are and how you got to owning an agency? Like where did
Yeah.
this leadership journey look like for you?
So accidental, like truly, I would love to say I had this all planned out. I surely did not. I went to school at University of Missouri with the intentions of being a journalist. At that time, the next
Mm,
Tom Brokaw, which tells you how old I am. He was NBC nightly news anchor. Um,
yes.
but in that discovered I loved storytelling. I didn't love what the path to being a professional journalist looked like. And
Mm,
and that is when I found my way into the agency life, which is also when I found myself working in agriculture, something I have had zero experience in. I now have mucho experience in it.
exactly.
Which I met my husband, and that matters to this story because after starting at an agency in St. Louis and being there for about 12 years, um, coming in like as the 25th or 26th employee, leaving when they were 120 plus people, I met my husband, moved up to Minneapolis in the spring, had never experienced a winter here, but
Oh.
um, right. And then we worked together at another agency where we also experienced explosive growth. And then in 2016, Troy spun Clutch, which was kind of an other side of the wallet strategy at our previous agency. We purchased it and spun it out as an independent company, wholly owned by my husband and myself. And then in 2019, I came over. And now we are in it and we are on the coaster, but we're trying not to ride too many highs or too many lows. But they're real. And sometimes it's easier than others.
Oh, that is amazing. I didn't know actually part of that story. And I think what's so interesting, and so if you're listening in the comments, I would love to know if like where you are right now is where you thought you would be 15 years ago. Like, because I think 15 years ago you were like, I'm going to start an agency was probably not the thing that you thought. And but following that next thing, like, oh, we can do this, we did this here, you build on what you know, and then you do what's next is so much easier, even though it's a hard journey, than
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I have to be here at the end, and we can shut
Yeah.
off growth when we only think about 82 steps away because we're not doing what's next. And so I think your story really illustrates that type of journey because when I graduated from college, also Tom Brokaw was still on the nightly news. I was a music ed major and I was a music teacher. And
Oh,
I use that knowledge and degree every day, but that's not the work that I do. And
right.
so we all have these amazing journeys. So one of the reasons as I said in the intro, I would love for you to talk about is culture. And you all had this explosive growth. And I mean, some of the numbers are a little staggering because it was almost tripling your staff in a few months, and you experienced a little bit of like, oh, wait, we loved this special culture that we had created with a handful of people doing really great work. And now this feels very different. And what happened in that scalable moment? What type of decisions did you find yourself facing?
That is such a great question, and it was a lot of conversations, both
Mhm.
between my husband and myself, but also our team, our whole team, which I think is another really big important part of this. Is,
Yeah.
when you're sitting on the management team, you only know so much, right? You're
Mhm.
not in the day to day. So I think that was a big realization to us. But at the end of the day, we realized everything. If we just stuck true to our values, we already had
Mm.
the roadmap. Our
Yes.
values are not just marketing speak, right? It is truly who we are internally and it's who we are externally. And
Mhm.
so our values stayed the same, but we had to start thinking about them a little differently, right? So transparency
Yes.
is one of our values. Well, it used to
Mhm.
be when there were 7 or 8 of us, transparency meant we all knew what everybody was doing, and I could tell you what every client was doing and everything. It's not like that now because
Mhm.
nobody has time for that when you're 40 people and about to bring on 6 more people. It's not possible. It's just not.
Oh my
But it
God.
means, right? It means being open. It means,
Mhm.
we have weekly, all team meetings. Quarterly, we share the results of the company financially, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mhm.
Fortunately, knock knock, it's been good. But we also say when we don't know.
Yeah.
I was in preparation for this conversation. I was talking with Troy this morning at breakfast, and I'm like, "Gosh, what do you think I should talk about and all this?" And he's like, "I think you should talk about how we're comfortable saying we don't know,"
Oh,
and we are.
good.
Right? I mean, I flashback instantly to 2020 when we made the decision before anybody knew what we were dealing with, that we were gonna close our offices for 2 weeks. Ha ha. Weren't we optimistic? And we told them, "We don't know. We have no idea, but as we find out, you'll find out, and we're gonna go through this together, and you've got our commitment that there will be no secrets, and let's do this."
Oh, I mean, we could have an entire hour-long conversation of just that story, like all of
Oh,
the
right.
things that you just said. And so I think one of the things I really want to pull out is that you chose to use your values. Like, and I loved the way you said that it's like our values didn't change, but the way we express them does.
Right.
And that is the clarity of when you lead a business by values. Look at what has happened to you. All the things that people want: profitability, more clients, like I'm adding more people because we have to have more people because we have more work. All of these things come from living by the values that you have
Right.
clarified. And it's not just, as you said, marketing speak. I always say it's not a pretty poster on the wall. It's
Yeah,
how you make decisions and how you implement processes
that's
in,
right.
in that work. It's so, so good. And your examples of transparency is one of yours is fabulous. And, side note, it's one of the reasons when you said, "Hey, I'm interested in working with you," it was one of the first things that I checked out. I knew you as a human and
Right,
as a lovely person, but I was like,
right,
what is their business doing? And immediately looked at values. And that alignment is why I was like, yes, I can do this
right.
work with Clutch. And so I just appreciate that so much. And I'm curious if you're listening, do you know your values? Maybe you are in your own business, or if you're just a leader in a company, do you know what your values are to know if you align with the values of where you are? Like, this is my question for you. We're gonna come back to that. So, Kiersten, one of the things that when you asked me to come in was this idea behind figuring out how we work better together. Like you wanted to keep that. You worked so well together and that easy transparency, but now there's more people. It's
Mhm.
it's harder, and so we needed some tools. And so we brought in using the Enneagram, which again is a personality framework that has 9 different types. It shows us how we think, act, and feel in the world. And we discovered some really fun things about you and Troy as leaders, but also as the entire company. So, what was that experience like for you initially in that moment? Not like what you've learned from
Yeah.
there, but like in that moment, what was that like experiencing that together with your team, which was very transparent?
Well, I'm probably using the word joy because I'm looking at the banner on our frame up, but it was joyful for me as not just as a leader, but as a member of the team to
Mhm.
see everybody like they, "Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense that you're over there," or, "Oh, remember this conversation we had? I bet you part of it is because, I'm programmed this way and you're programmed that way." And just seeing all those connection points, especially with some of our newer employees, like we had
Mhm.
people, you remember, who've been there for a couple of
Like a
days.
week? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah, and
so.
like,
Yeah.
"Hey, welcome. Come on in."
Join us.
We're going to get real. This team, I'm very beyond blessed because they're willing to be vulnerable. They're willing to do things like this, even though there were a few people there who really didn't want to be there, really did not want to be there. And by the end, they were smiling and laughing. One of them asked me, how can we do this when we have new teammates come on board? Or can we make this something we regularly revisit? Like, it's really cool to see how much people realize that this is a tool, right?
Yes.
It's a tool. And I think you cautioned us with, it's neither a shield nor an arrow, I believe was the
shield and sword, but arrow works just as fine as the weapon. Your weapon of choice. Not doing it.
However you want to fight, whatever. There are kinds of people have used that as a flag, like, oh, and that's how this was such a different experience for me, right? Like than what I have had at least one time in the past, when it was weaponized, and that stings. It stings for your employees. It stings for you, right? So let's use this as a tool to help each other understand each other, to communicate better, to work to better, and yeah, I don't know. It was so positive.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, I've heard some of that before, but it's just fun to talk to you later, that it is a tool and you're using it as a way to improve the way you work together.
Right.
Like, that's its purpose. It's not meant to be something that we defend against bad behavior. It's not meant to be some kind of deep therapy session that we can use to attack each other. That's not its job. That's not my role, but to give you language, to give you understanding of a tool that helps you say, oh, I now understand that better about you. So when we're talking about the way this client responded, we now see why we see it differently, and we can come together and create shared meaning around that. And then we're more productive. We give better work. You're more innovative, all of those types of things.
Exactly.
So good. Go ahead.
No. I'm agreeing with you. That's very much how we've experienced it.
Yeah. So I would love to hear now, when you think about your own, I want to talk about you personally for a second and then move to your organization. What changed, or what did you start to see about how you led yourself as a leader? Like, what did you start to say, oh, I see this about myself now, and now I can do something a little bit different to make myself more effective?
Yeah, there is some self-awareness discovery that comes with it, right? So as a 9, the peacemaker, I laugh because that was kind of my title in my family as a kid, even like growing up, as anytime there was anything, I was always like, oh, come on, guys, that's it. But also in turn, which made me somewhat conflict adverse. Not that anybody loves conflict, although I think there are some people who really love it. But
I mean, yeah, as I say, they're all on Twitter, but
right. So true. Fun to watch.
No.
But it made me understand that sometimes it's not always conflict, right? Sometimes it's not peace that needs to be made. Sometimes we need to have healthy tensions and have discussions and differing points of view. And that's how we get to the good stuff. If we just suppress all of that, right, then that's not good. So I don't always need to be putting on my peacemaker cape and jumping into the fray, because maybe there's not even a fray to jump into. Or maybe the fray is a healthy fray that needs to be, fray's going to fray. I don't know. It's how we end it that matters, right? If we get to that resolution. So that was very enlightening to me.
I love that. And like you said, how we get to the good stuff. I often say that everything really good in life is often at the other end of a hard conversation.
Yes.
Either with yourself or somebody else. You get to the best idea. You get to a deeper relationship when you get on the other side of that.
You learn the best lessons the hardest way, it feels like, right? It's
yes.
true.
Yes. Yeah. I would like it to be a different way, but it's not. It's not. So what has that done for your team? How have you started to use personality work and understanding of each other's personalities to do better together? How do you work together? What has changed for you?
I don't know if it's changed per se, so much as it's I'm going to say blended in a good way, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where we had some sharp edges in how we were communicating, I feel like we've kind of softened those a little bit, right? And just with that, where we really saw the connection points where people who were, I don't know how to say this, opposites, right? In a way, like when you think about their Enneagram numbers, like it just, and the clarity that came with that and how they're working together. And, I mean, understanding that there's some of us who I love when I am in the car to pick up the phone and call and check in on people, right? I discovered during that workshop that we've got people who are terrified when their phone rings unexpectedly and they think something bad's about to happen, when in reality, it's just like, hey, how's you know, those kinds of things. So just I feel like everything, it's like we took like a blender to like I'm thinking art. My oldest daughter
Oh,
is doing pencil art right now, and I watched her
oh,
blend her charcoals. I'm like, yeah, it's like that. We blended it into this more seamless
oh,
communication
that's
interaction.
beautiful. I love that image of the blending of the charcoal. Like that's what makes
Yeah,
the art,
right.
that
So
blending
that
together.
exactly. The lines were harsh, and then they came together. Now they're beauty. I have a beautiful Taylor Swift pencil art. If anybody needs it, let me
Oh,
know.
that's
Because that's why
amazing.
I love this.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm just thinking about that. But what a great that is a great example of how learning self-awareness work and doing that is it creates better work. And
Yes.
then I imagine that people then when they see those softening edges, when you blend together, you have a sense of belonging. And
Right.
when you know that you belong in a place, you feel safer and you do better work. So your
Exactly.
clients get better work from your
Yes.
people because they have that sense of
Yes.
belonging.
And it's
Yeah.
funny you say that because, I think if you interviewed most of our people, I believe, from what I've heard, they will say what makes Clutch special is our culture, right? And our culture is
Mhm.
obviously our people.
Yeah.
But one thing that we do not say when we're hiring is that we're looking for culture fits. We are looking for
Mm.
culture additions because with every person who comes on, our team changes just a little bit, right?
Yes.
In many different ways, but you're a culture addition. We don't need you to
Mhm.
fit into this mold. So I think that makes things like the Enneagram even more important and making sure that
Mm.
we're nurturing and feeding and recognizing, oh wait, our
Yes.
culture has shifted a little bit, right? As long as it's still
Yes.
aligned with our values, that's all good.
Yes.
But it's not the same as it was 6 months ago.
That is beautiful because people say all the time culture fit. And I mean, that is a common phrase in so
Right,
many
right.
organizations. And a culture addition says, I'm at your spice matters in this recipe. And the way
Yes,
you
I
come
love that.
in is going to shape us. And we want that alignment to our values is the key to that. Because that
Exactly.
is the North Star. That's what keeps you close. I'm doing a retreat in February with women leaders. And one of the things we're doing is really honing in on values and creating that values blueprint for you to use so that
Yeah,
things aren't just things on the wall. And what you just said is a way of using that to like creating a culture intentionally is okay, what are our values? How do
right.
you enhance our expression of that? So that's so
Yes.
beautiful. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're up at time and I get
You
shocked
said it
every
would
time.
happen, and here it's
I know it
happening.
just happens. So tell us a little bit more about what Clutch does and how people can stay connected with
Yeah.
you and what we can learn from you besides this beautiful leadership lesson that
Oh,
you offered today.
like, you're too kind. Well, Clutch is a hybrid marketing and consulting firm. We're a B2B firm. We're focused in agriculture, food ingredients, and building materials. I love connecting with people. Obviously, check out our website, Clutch Performance, but I think there's a QR code there. Or connect with me
Yay.
on LinkedIn because I also love talking with others who are in the same boat. I love learning from others who are leading organizations, especially other women in
Mhm.
leadership, because I think we have so much to learn from each other.
So much.
So yeah, connect. Would love to chat.
Great. And Kiersten is just a delightful person, as you can tell. Just so warm and open, and just I'm so grateful for your time and attention today, and flexibility to come on when I'm in a kind of weird place today. And I just am so
Happy to do
grateful
it.
for you.
Anything for
So
you,
grateful.
Jen, truly,
Oh,
truly.
you're so kind. You're so kind. Well, I am so grateful to have worked with you, have known you for a long time, and then get to work with you in your organization and see how your intentionality and beauty is expressed in the culture of your organization, and your intentionality of keeping that and bringing people in that culture edition. I just love that. I love it so much. So thank you so much for being here. Everybody, we are here live at 1 p.m. Eastern every week. Next week, Lauren Reedy will be here talking about storytelling and telling your own story and how we talk to ourselves as well, which is a key leadership skill. And so I'm so excited Lauren is coming on next week. So until then, we will say goodbye and thank you so much. Bye, everybody. So let me put my coach hat on for just a sec. Don't just leave this here. Take a moment. What did you learn? What's your next tiny action step? Share this episode with someone and tell them. Connect with us to keep this conversation going. As always, I'm Jen Whitmer. Thank you for listening to Joyosity. I don't take for granted that your earballs have a lot of information coming at you. Please take a moment to rate and subscribe. It really helps more people join us in creating positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. Can't wait for you to join us next week.